Goedemiddag. Alderman Gierike has apologized. Councillor Gultik.
Councillor Gultig present.
Councillor Hector has apologized. Councillor Henge.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Ingo.
Middag Speaker teenwoordig.
Councillor Jantjies Gushman. Good afternoon. Councillor James has apologized. Councillor Johnson.
Good afternoon, present.
Councillor Kama.
Greetings, colleagues present.
Alderman Kritzinger.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Langa.
Good afternoon, Speaker and Councillors. Yes, I am present. Thank you, Speaker.
Councillor Lesele.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Lof.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. May the peace and mercy of the Lord Almighty be with all of you in this difficult time.
Councillor Low.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Mbete.
Afternoon, Speaker, present.
Councillor Ndaka. Councillor Ndaka. We'll come back to that one. Councillor Nkondu has apologized. Councillor Nkamazana.
Afternoon, Speaker, I'm present.
Councillor Noble.
Present Speaker, thank you.
Councillor Nosana.
Molweni nonke molo nawe somlomo ndikhona.
Alderman Petrus.
In order, Speaker. Okay.
Councillor Plata.
Afternoon, everyone. Ndikhona, Speaker.
I am present. Councillor Roofse.
Good afternoon, present, Speaker.
Councillor Royland.
Present, Speaker. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Councillor Suffers.
Present, Speaker. Present.
Councillor Snyman.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Stander.
Present Speaker.
Councillor Stamela.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Strubel.
Present, Speaker.
Alderman Tayizi.
Speaker, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm present.
Thank you. Alderman van der Hoeven.
Good day, everyone. I'm present.
Councillor van Niekerk.
Present, Speaker.
Alderman van Wyk.
Good day, everyone. Present, Speaker.
Councillor von Brandes.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Wessels.
Present, Speaker.
Alderman Williams. I can see you. I'll take you as present. I see you're not unmuted, but I'll take your presence. Councillor Windwy.
Present, Speaker.
The acting municipal manager.
Present, Speaker.
The acting director corporate services.
Speaker, I'm acting for today. Mr. Paulse, I'm present.
Thank you, Mr. Paulse. The director or the acting director human settlements.
William Daris present.
Good afternoon, Ms. Daris. The director planning and development.
Good day, Speaker. Good day, councillors. Lauren Waring present.
Good afternoon and welcome. The director community services, Mr. Paulse, is present.
Present.
The director protection services. Is Mr. Erasmus present?
Can you hear me, Speaker? Yes, I am.
I can hear you now. Thank you. The director electrotechnical services.
Good day, Speaker. Good day, councillors. Bongani Mandla present.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mandla. Welcome again. The acting director civil engineering services.
Good afternoon, Speaker. Lionel Daniels present.
Thank you. The acting director financial services.
Good afternoon, Speaker. Leon Wallace, present.
Thank you. The Deputy Director, Legal Services and Compliance.
Good afternoon, Speaker. I'm present.
The Deputy Director, Corporate Services. I think Mr. Paulse, are you acting there as well?
No, Speaker.
No. Is there Deputy Director, Corporate Services, Admin? Mr. Lois on leave?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Who is that? Mrs. Bredenkamp?
That's right, for admin, yes.
Thank you. The Acting Deputy Director, Internal Audit. Ms. Sagon? We'll come back. The Manager, Legal Services.
Afternoon.
The Manager, IDP.
Good day, Speaker. It's Lauren here. Dr. Harhoff is just busy with a matter, but he is present. Will be present. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waring. The Manager, Communication Services or Communication.
Present, Speaker. Good day.
The Manager, Risk or Risk Management. Is Ms. Sagon not with us, it seems? The Manager, Executive Support Services in the Office of the Municipal Manager.
Good afternoon, Speaker. Tracy, present.
Thank you. The Manager in the Office of the Executive Mayor.
Present, Speaker.
Thank you. The Acting Manager, IT.
Present, Speaker.
Thank you. The Manager, Committee Support.
Rosemary, present, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Senior Committee Official, Committee Support.
Present, Speaker.
The Senior Clerk Committees, Committee Support.
Present, Speaker.
And then the Interpreter, Mr. Paulus.
I'm present, Speaker.
Thank you. I've seen in the chat box that Councillor Mdaka has indicated her presence. I will put it down as such. Thank you. Can we get an indication? Is Councillor Iso, has he perhaps joined us? There's no news on Councillor Iso. I have taken down Councillor Mdaka's name. And then amongst the officials, the Acting Director, Internal Audit is not there. The Manager, Legal Services, Mr. Miller.
Present, Speaker. Good.
Oh, I can hear you now. Welcome. And then we've the Risk Managers, Mr. Gon. I think those are the only ones that I have. Thank you for that, colleagues and councillors. We move then to the new item 3 on the agenda, which is then the mayoral address. Mayor, over to you. Thank you very much. We look forward to listening to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Speaker. I think good day to everyone. Good day, Speaker, Deputy Mayor, Alderman, Chief Whip, Acting Municipal Manager, Directors, officials, members of the media, guests. I think at the outset, we need to thank the Speaker and the Acting Municipal Manager for moving this council meeting to this time. I was invited to do a presentation to the Local Government Financial Management Oversight Winter School, which was held this morning between 10 o'clock and it ended at about 20 to 1. And so I requested that to participate in this national event. I noticed a few of our councillors attending. We then moved this council meeting to this time. I think it was a most useful event that continues tomorrow for the second day. I would, however, like to begin my speech by referring to our George representatives on the international sporting stage. It is with great pride that we congratulate Bianca Buitendag on winning a silver medal for surfing at the Olympic Games in Tokyo earlier this week. It is fascinating to appreciate what she has achieved as an outsider and in semi-retirement to have finished second after eliminating both of the number 2 and the number 3 ranked surfers in the world to get into the finals, where she then competed against the number 1 surfer in the world. George Municipality provided her with sponsorship support for the Olympics, and I believe that her performance will provide us and our surfing beach, Victoria Bay, with significant promotional mileage. We look forward to conveying our congratulations to this great ambassador on her return to George. We also wish to congratulate our George schooled athletes, Elroy Gelant and Joanne van Dijk, on being in the South African Olympic team, and wish them well in their appearance during these games. I've also been informed that Branko de Priya, a member of the Blitzbok 7 squad at the Olympics, was also schooled in George. It is also with great pride that we recognise and congratulate Outeniqua old boy Duan van der Merwe on his selection for the British and Irish Lions rugby team, currently locked in battle with the Springboks. At least George can claim that we have had someone in the winning side with a victory of the Lions last weekend. We're also experiencing and living through the COVID third wave in George and the Garden Route. On behalf of Council and the municipality, I wish to express our condolences to the families of staff members who've recently lost their lives or have lost loved ones. Many of our staff members and councillors have suffered from COVID-19 in recent weeks, and we wish them all of the best in their recovery. We all need to ensure that we keep safe and adhere to the necessary safety protocols. The vaccination program is underway, and we should continue to encourage registration for vaccination. I've received updates on the COVID figures and from Mr. Rasmus, thank you very much. And the following are extracts from a report that I received this morning, which is an update on the one I had last night. During the first wave, during March to October 2020, we had 73 employees who had contracted COVID and 3 fatalities. Then the second wave, October to January this year, 131 employees contracted COVID and 4 fatalities. And since February this year, we've had 115 employees and 3 fatalities. So a total of 319 municipal employees have tested positive since the start of the pandemic, with a total of 10 fatalities. The municipality currently has 48 active cases, with 30 awaiting return to work clearance. Over the past 7 days, the municipality, from its staff members, we got 15 new cases. Currently, all services are being rendered and all directorates are operational. The public has limited access to municipal buildings due to COVID-19 safety protocols. All employees that can work effectively from home continue to do so. All other staff are operational at their respective offices. The routine disinfection of all municipal buildings is ongoing, either on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. If we look at the overall figures for George, we've seen a decline in active cases for the last 2 days since reaching the peak on 26 July, that was Monday, with 2,767 active cases reported then. The first wave, we peaked at 783, and the second wave, we peaked at 2,173. George currently has the highest active cases per 100,000 in the Western Cape, at 1,212 per 100,000 actives, compared to the Garden Route, which has got 851, and the Western Cape with 491 per 100,000. So I think it's a very clear indication that we have a third wave that we need to be concerned about, and we need to ensure the stringency in our protocols, and we need to communicate that to outsiders as well. There are currently 2,545 active cases as of 1300 hours yesterday, the 28th of July, and we've had 618 fatalities in George. A total of 144 new infections has been reported in the last 24 hours. And the distribution of the virus is widespread, and there are no clear hotspot areas that can be identified. And the Garden Route as such has got 5,269 active cases and 1,779 deaths. If we look at the hospital admissions, George Hospital is currently under severe pressure with a total of 106 patients, of which 18 in critical care unit, and both of the COVID ward and the high care units are full. Harry Kumay is a step-down facility with 25 patients. Mediclinic George is also very busy, 25 patients in the general COVID ward and 12 in the critical care unit. Mediclinic Geneva has 8 patients in their general ward there. The vaccination program is ongoing. We've made officers available to the Department of Health for use at the Centrum Clinic. All 11 of our the libraries, municipal libraries, are assisting members of the public to register for the COVID-19 vaccines, and the George municipality's radio slots have been utilized by the Department of Health for vaccine updates. On 12 July, our country experienced a bout of public unrest and looting, mainly in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, that has caused billions of rands of damage to infrastructure, buildings and businesses. Hundreds of lives were lost and much consternation has been created among all sectors of our population. The municipal manager and I were called to an extended cabinet meeting by the Premier of the Western Cape. We implored all of us to remain calm and to plan for and assess the risks of any outbreaks in each of our municipalities. After that meeting, all the political parties represented on council were requested at short notice to discuss the issue of a united declaration supporting peace in our communities. I want to extend my gratitude to all political parties in our council for your leadership in support of this declaration and the roles that you have played in ensuring calmness, peace and safety for all our communities during a particularly tense and difficult period of time. The municipal manager also called an immediate meeting with leading business groupings and SAPs in George to discuss the situation and the briefing that we had received from the Premier and other role players during the cabinet meeting earlier that day. We are thankful that we were able to reach out to the participants on that virtual platform, even though it was extremely short notice and by no means covering all the essential stakeholders. We also need to thank SAPs, neighbourhood watchers, security companies, even taxi associations and all others for ensuring our safety during those nervous days. Unfortunately, there were some fake messages that were circulated during those anxious hours. The enormity of the damage to infrastructure and livelihoods is still being determined. There are lessons to be learned from this experience for all of us as we move forward. We also think of the many citizens in our country who experienced the ravages and concerns of food and medicine shortages, possibly the loss of jobs, etc. During the course of the past month or two, the municipal manager has led a team of senior officials and other advisors in the finalization and submission of our application for admission into the Budget Facility for Infrastructure, or BFI, program for the 2021 adjustment period. This program is administered within National Treasury with rigorous admission requirements. Our application for 1 billion rand is needed to concentrate on security of water supply, sludge treatment, balancing dams, reservoirs for Thembalethu and Pacaltsdorp. It is a testament to the skills, dedication and attention to detail of our team that we were able to progress to the stage of being able to present our application to the National Treasury team that would take this to adjudication level. I was invited by the MM to accompany our team to the virtual meeting where our application was presented. Our team had worked overnight until 3 a.m. on the morning of our presentation. At 7:30, a dry run was held by the team, with final adjustments being made to slides minutes before the presentation took place between 9 and 11 a.m. on Friday, the 9th of July. Further explanations and justifications were required, which meant our team had to work through the weekend to complete the final submission on 13 July. Further clarifications have been provided in recent days. We now await adjudication. If we do not achieve success here, we will need to proceed to seek other avenues which fortunately appear to be open to us. In each case, we can only be successful if we ensure absolute adherence to exemplary best practice of good governance. In turning to the achievements of some of the directorates up to June 2021 and the past month, the following is worthy of mention. As at the 1st of January 2021, we had only spent 2.3% of our MIG funding. As at 30 June, we had spent 100% of MIG funding. This means we spent 97.7% of MIG funding in the last 6 months. The MIG stormwater projects were completed in Andersonville, Zone 9, Zone 1 and New Dawn Park, while Phase 2 of those projects is still underway in New Dawn Park and Zone 9. During the recent heavy rains, these new stormwater systems have already proved their worth with no new complaints arising. The package plant that will temporarily provide relief for wastewater treatment will commence its trial installation period in the first week of August. Turning to Electrotech, we welcome our new director, Bongani Mandla, who has been with us since the beginning of July, and we have a new senior manager distribution starting next week. The first wheeling agreement has been signed that will now permit the implementation process in terms of that agreement. The Electrotech team is also actively working to rebuild a culture of safety in the workplace. It is obviously of critical importance within Electrotech that we adhere to all aspects of safety. An unplanned power outage on Thursday, the 15th of July at Tamsui substation was due to an 11 kilovolt circuit breaker that failed. The customers affected were the entire industrial area, Delville Park, portions of Thembalethu and George CBD, Bossendal, Groeneweide Park, Earth 325 and certain farms towards Harold's Bay. The electrotechnical team worked hard to restore the supply to all customers. The directorate is challenged by having equipment that is either in the final stages of their life cycle or beyond it. It is evident that additional funding will be needed for maintenance and or replacement. The team managed to assist keeping supply onto the Mediclinic during load shedding after consultation with Eskom at short notice. We received a request that came through at 1600 hours when load shedding was scheduled for 2000 hours. And this was done to ensure that we can supply the hospital supplies ICU rooms which were not yet connected to a backup generator, which would have led to loss of life for patients on ventilators should electricity not have been provided during that critical hours that we faced load shedding. I've received a letter of gratitude from the Chief Operating Officer of Mediclinic for the assistance that the municipal manager and our Electrotech team gave in ensuring that the lights stayed on. At Town Planning and Building Control, we have achieved the following. 100% of building plans were approved in June within the legislated timeframe. This is an improvement from March, where it was 68%, April 74%, and May 72%. We have a number of temporary employees assisting us here in ensuring that we're getting on top of these approvals. Today, I'm highlighting some of the work that's been done by our junior city council. Councillor Lisa Struble quietly works with this group of young leaders, and for which I thank her. I have invited our talented junior mayor, Ludolf Pedro, to deliver the speech he delivered at the Western Cape Provincial Parliament's Youth Parliament a few weeks ago, just after I complete this speech. The following is a brief extract of the work that this team of young leaders, the Junior City Council, has been doing over the past 6 months. Delivery of sanitary shoeboxes to the Pambili Women's Shelter in Rosemore, donating supplies to Oudtshoorn Dogs in Need, a Drug Awareness Day at Bethesda Child and Youth Care Centre, cupcakes to Tainiqua Old Age Home and the Night Shelter, various workshops, competitions and interactions involving youth and gender interest. These are just some of the activities that they have been participating in, and I think we are very grateful to the leadership talents that are being displayed by this young team. Comments relating to the interim financial results for the April to June 2021 quarter will be made during the course and tabling of that item and in the discussions later today. Thank you to our staff for all your efforts in bringing us through the year end and into the new financial year. It is much appreciated. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, as indicated earlier, the next speaker will be the Junior Mayor, Mr. Ludolf Pedro. Mr. Pedro, I believe you will be switching on your camera and that you will be in full regalia. Please proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. 57% likely to be bullied in school. 24% likely to struggle with feelings of depression and thoughts of suicide. And more than 50% likely to experience racial abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, as well as the honourable members of the George City Council, this illustrates the countless obstacles that the youth of today are forced to endure in South Africa in 2021. There are, however, numerous ways in which we can help combat the nuances of these challenges. Schools play a significant role in eradicating these problems. So just like the Representative Council of Learners, I believe that every secondary but also primary school in our country should be legally obliged to establish a transformation committee. This board should be implemented as a subcommittee of the school governing body to ensure that matters of transformation and inclusivity are acknowledged and dealt with. This committee can advise the school governing body and school management team on any policy discrimination, such as the infamous hair and language policies in various schools, and investigate complaints on specific instances of any form of discrimination. Furthermore, the crises of learning difficulties and mental well-being should be acknowledged, and the process of seeking support should be expedited by the Transformation Committee. Lastly, this board can advise the school on methods to create a safe environment where people of different races, religions, and cultures feel welcomed, as well as where members of the LGBTQ+ community can freely express their authentic self without the fear of judgment or abuse. Councillors, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the speech that I delivered at the Western Cape Provincial Youth Parliament, where they asked us what we believe our key youth priority areas are that we want members of the provincial parliament to bring to the attention of the executive. And seeing that it is quite unlikely that schools will now be legally obliged to establish a transformation committee, the Junior City Council has now started to plan drawing up documents together with the help of Councillor Lisa Strubel, whom we immensely appreciate, which will then be sent to various schools in the area to encourage them to establish a transformation committee. This is because the youth deserve to be protected. Because as Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela wisely said, the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pedro, and congratulations on all the accolades that you received from very high circles with that speech that you had delivered to the Western Cape Youth Parliament as well as to this council. As the Mayor indicated, we are thrilled to have such excellent young leadership in our midst. Thank you once again, and go well. We will now move to the replies to the mayoral address. First to speak is the ANC. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Do you hear me?
I hear you clearly, Alderman.
Hoe gaat het met jou, Gerard?
Dit gaan baie goed, Charlie, en met jou?
Ek is bly as ek dit hoor, man.
Mooi.
As the ANC, we want to congratulate Bianca for her achievement at the Olympics and all those who are attached to George. We say congratulations, well done. The mayor mentioned the pandemic, the COVID, how it have affected the George municipality. We want to send out as the ANC condolences to families who have lost their loved ones because of this pandemic. It's a terrible time we're going through, where we as people have to look at each other, take care of each other. There are no time for grudges because we are facing a bigger challenge, which is this pandemic. I hear the mayor have mentioned the unrest which covered our country 2 weeks back. And I hear him saying that he needs a committee who will sign up by parties a declaration for peace and safety in our town. I have no problems with what you are saying, Mr. Mayor, but we have to look at the root cause. That we have to look at how to address unemployment, poverty, so that at the end of the day, people can sustain their own lives. Or else in George will be sitting on a time bomb if we cannot address the root cause of people. I am pleased also to hear that there's an application submitted for MIG funding, which will at the end of the day bring services to this community of George. And I hope this application to national government will be a success so that we can address all the water shortages and systems so that our people can have clean water and not being 6 or 7 at one standpipe. I welcome Mr. Mandla of the Electrical Technical Department for being part of this bigger family of the George municipality. It's my time off. And I hope, Mandla, you'll come in with a vision to see that in George, there's a lot of squatter areas which doesn't have electricity. So we'd like to see that you bring services to our communities. I know that you don't work in isolation, you work as a team, but we hope that will bring something new to George, where people will be happy for you being present among them through the department which you are a directorate to.
Alderman, your time is up.
So fast.
You already had 30 seconds extra. In fact, 40.
Yeah, Gerard.
Thanks, Alderman.
No, thank you then.
Thank you, Alderman. Next to speak is the PBI. Councillor Buys, you have 3 minutes.
Dank u, Speaker. Speaker, namens die PBI wil ons net sê dat die uitspraak van die meier was nie op die grond vir die mense nie. Want hoekom ons so sê dat die sopkombuise sit nou al 3 weke sonder bestanddele. So dit is die eerste een, die Speaker. Ek dink nou in die tyd is die mense honger op die grond, waar die sopkombuise altyd ons mense se maag te vul. Die tweede punt is wat ek wil vandag noem hierso op in die meeting is dat die huiswinkelantie, hulle betaal hulle dood aan die munisipale dienste. En dit is die rede hoekom hulle maar besluit om hulle huiswinkels te verkoop aan die buitelanders, want hulle kan nie meer stand hou in die dienste wat hulle moet betaal, en nou verkoop hulle maar hulle huiswinkeltjies om maar net 'n brood op die tafel vir hulle te sit. So dit is my tweede punt vandag namens die PBI. Die ander punt wat ek vandag wil noem, ek dink ons het seker met die nuwe meier, die vorige meier, was daar 'n uitry, het ons toe gehad, waar ons die plakkerskampe besoek het. En ek kon nog onthou dat een van die raadslede het trane daai dag gestort toe hulle 'n gestremde dame gesien het, wat baie suffer. En hy het daarmee het eers 'n reistoel, daar was beloftes gemaak daai dag aan daai dame se lewe, en daai probleme staan nog dieselfde. So ek dink ons sit nou hierso en ons het nog nooit die mense gehelp met hulle omstandighede. En ek dink dit is hoekom ons deur die kiezer hier buite gekies was om hulle omstandigheid moes te verbeter. Daai probleem die plakkerskampe toe te ry om dankie het daai mense se lewens nou al verbeter. So dit is my ander punt, die speaker. Ek wil ook net sê dat ons het geleer dat jy kry 3 kansse in die lewe. En soos ek nou al kan sê vir julle dat die het nou al 'n 4de kans gekry. Maar ek wil vir julle vandag sê die mense verander. Baie dankie, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Buys. Mr. Paulus, can you please translate?
I-PBI iyachaza ukuba usodolophu akho nto ayithethileyo malunga nabantu okanye malunga nezidingo zabantu, ngoba okokuqala kukho ingxaki ekhoyo kwi-soup kitchen. Uthi iveki zintathu apho abantu abenza i-soup kitchen behleli ngaphandle kokutya okanye benganikezwa ii-ingredients zokuba mabenze i-soup kitchen. Ngoko ke zizinto ebekufuneka zijongiwe ngoba abantu banesidingo, abantu balambile, and ngakumbi kula maxesha anzima kangaka esijongene nazo. Izizinto ezo ekufuneka usodolophu aqwalasele zona. Uthi ke ipoint yakhe yesibini, uthetha malunga nabantu babe neshop ezindlini zabo, kodwa ke bathi babethwa yimeko bafuneka bebhatele okanye babhatele irhafu, bancama ke bazithengisela abantu bangaphandle kuba befuna ingeniso. Nezo zinto kufuneka zijongile. Uthi ke uba ndiyakhumbula kakuhle, sakhe sandwendwela nosodolophu omdala, ndiyazi noba wawukhona nasodolophu omtsha, sindwendwela kumatyotyombe akhoyo apha kwingingqi apha eGeorge ezisirhangqileyo. Uthi ke apho kwaye kwakhona omnye wooceba wathi wanentliziyo ebuhlungu walila kuba wayebona imeko esasikhe sadibana nayo apho umntu ongumama wayekhubezeke khona kodwa engenayo ne-wheelchair. Kwenziwa khona izithembiso zokuba uzawuncedakala kodwa kunanamhlanje usahleli kuloo meko. Ngoko ke izidingo azikenziwa okanye azikafezekiswa ngokwezithembiso ezazenziwe. Uthi ke lokugqibela ke xa ezawuvala uthi apha ebomini umntu ufumana amathuba ade abe mathathu kodwa nina nifumene amathuba ade amane niyi-DA. Into ethetha ukuthi umntu uyatshintsha, khanizame utshintsho.
Thank you, Mr. Paulus. Next to speak in reply to the mayoral address is the ACDP. Councillor De Tooy, you have 3 minutes.
Baie dankie, Speaker. Oh, excuse, ek net my telefoon hier afsit. Speaker, namens die ACDP wil ons Bianca Buitendag ook baie hartlik gelukwens met haar wonderlike prestasie met haar silwer medalje by die Olimpiese spele. En dan wil ons ook al die ander lede van Suid-Afrika wat daar deelneem gelukwens. Ons sê vir die baie dankie daarvoor. Nou, Speaker, namens die ACDP wil ons ook ons uiterste meegevoel en simpatie betuig met almal wat geliefdes verloor het in hierdie tyd van die pandemie. Speaker, dis so ons weet, dis 'n swaar tyd waar ons lewe. Ons mense word gevaksineer, is daar nog mense wat siek word. And through you, Speaker, to the Mayor, is it not that time that you as Mayor of George called for a day of prayer so that we can seek the face of God? As the Bible says in 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Burgemeester, is dit nie tyd dat ons verootmoedig voor die Here? Want God is in algemene beheer. Die Bybel verklaar God is alwetend, God is almagtig en God is alomteenwoordig. Ons kan niks sonder God doen nie. Al sit ons in politieke partye, al sit ons in die raads, maar ons het God nodig. Is dit nie nou die tyd, in hierdie moeilike tye, in hierdie tye van hartseer, in hierdie tye waar mense se lewens van hulle afgevat word, dit is werklike tye wat ons voor God moet verootmoedig. En dit is die pleidooi van die ACDP vandag vir u as burgemeester en ons as raad, en dat ons die voortou sal neem en ons knieë buig voor die Almagtige, dat hy hierdie pandemie van ons af wegneem. Baie dankie, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor De Tooy. Mr. Paulus, if you could please answer.
ACDP ifuna ukuthi iyavuyisana kakhulu noBianca othe wawina i-silver medal, futhi ke iyavuyisana nabo bonke abemi boMzantsi Afrika abathe basimela baphumelela kumaqela ngamaqela. Siyabulela kakhulu. Uthi ke siyavelana kwakhona nabantu abathe baphulukana nezihlobo nezalamano zabo ngeli xesha libi libuhlungu linzima kangaka esikulo. Uthi ke abantu bayavaccinate futhi yaqhuba ukuthi abantu bahlabe, kodwa ke basekhona abantu abagulayo nabantu abasishiyayo. Wathetha ke ilizwi alithethileyo ekhumsha ngesiNgesi, kodwa ke waphinda wabuyela esithi sodolophi ayililona ixesha eli ocinga mhlambe masikhe silile siguqe sithandaze phambi komdali wezulu nomhlaba, yena mntu onempendulo, ngoba singahlala apha singoceba sihlale ngezikhundla sicebe ukuba siza kwenza njani na, kodwa ke singazithobanga phambi komdali wethu. Thina siyi-ACDP i-PPE sithi sicela ukuba ubeke olu suku ukubana ngeli xesha libi kangaka linzima libuhlungu lokuphulukana nezihlobo nezalamane makhe sibuyele kumdali wethu sikhe siguqe sikhe sicenge singxengxeze sicele uxolo ukuze mhlawumbi liphile ilizwe lethu. Enkosi.
Thank you, Mr. Paulus. The next to speak is the Freedom Front Plus. Councillor van die Kerk, you have 3 minutes.
Oeps, baie dankie Speaker. Ek sal seker nie 3 minute gebruik nie. Eerstens wil ek die burgemeester sê dankie vir 'n baie gebalanseerde en insiggewende toespraak wat hy ons gegee het. Die Vryheidsfront stem natuurlik saam. COVID-19 is 'n realiteit. Dit is 'n werklikheid. En ek dink nie daar is iemand wat hier vandag teenwoordig is, wat dit nog nie aan sy vel gevoel het nie. Dit sê deur die sterfte van 'n familielid, of van 'n vriend, of die siek wees, of self ondervind, so iets. Dit is net kommerwekkend as ons beweeg deur ons dorp, dat daar nog steeds mense is wat ooglopend verkies om nie gehoor te gee aan die nodige gesondheidsmaatreëls en natuurlik ander sodanig in gevaar stel. En as daar iets was wat ons kon aanbeveel daarteen, behalwe miskien strenger wetstoepassing, dan sal ons dit gedoen het. Dan ook, ons is natuurlik van die Vryheidsfront se kant af baie verheug oor die prestasie van Bianca Buitendag. Dit is wonderlik gewees, en ek dink die hele George juig saam daardeur. En soos raadslid De Tooy gesê het, ons natuurlik ondersteun ons Suid-Afrikaanse span ten volle. En laastens, ek sal my hou by die burgemeester se toespraak. Befondsing is van kardinale belang. Die Vryheidsfront het alreeds voorheen nog meer oor uitgelaat dat dit is nodig om ons dorpsekonomie aan die groei te kry. 'n Gesonde ekonomie bring werkskepping, verlig armoede. Armoede in hierdie tyd, dink ek het ons almal al gesien, het nie 'n kleur, het nie 'n geur, het nie 'n ouderdom, het geen beperking nie. Daar is oral mense wat bitter swaar kry, wat honger gaan slaap. Ons doen ons is bewus van ander instansies ook wat doen wat hulle kan, maar jy kan dit ook net so ver vat. Jy kan nie by almal uitkom nie. So burgemeester, hoe gouer julle daai befondsing bekom, hoe gouer die ekonomie aangespreek kan word en hoe gouer die werkloosheidsprobleem kan aangespreek word, hoe beter. Dankie Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor van die Kerk.
Enkosi kakhulu Sodolophi ngentetho yakho esilungekileyo kanye ngentetho yakho enhle kakhulu, siyabulela kakhulu. Uthi ke i-COVID sisigulo esikhoyo nesingenakwazi ukusibaleka sikhona. Futhi ke andiqondi ukuba ukhona na umntu ongekayiva okanye ongekachaphazeleki ukuthi mhlawumbi aphulukane nomntu amaziyo okanye nesihlobo nesalamane sakhe. Ngoko ke i-COVID iyinto exhalabisayo kakhulu. Uthi ke iyaxhalabisa into yobana xa uthi uzahambela nje edolophini ubone kusekho abantu abangahoyiyo nabangakhathalanga, into ethetha ukuthi abayihoyanga imiqathango ebekiweyo. Leyo into iyaxhalabisa kakhulu. Kungekho futhi neminye imiqathango esinokuthi siyibekwe enobangela uba abantu bayilandele bengayilandeli le ikhoyo. Uthi ke nathi siyavuyisana noBianca, siyazingca kakhulu singabantu baseGeorge, futhi sivuyisana nabo bonke abemi abathe basimela baphumelela baseMzantsi Afrika. Uthi ke uzawuthetha malunga nenkxaso-mali okanye i-funding ibalulekile kakhulu ukuze uqoqosho lwethu lukhule, ngoba uqoqosho lwethu lukhula ngokuthi uqoqosho lwethu lukhula ngokuthi kuvuleleke amathuba emisebenzi, ngoba kaloku uthi indlala ayikhethi bala lamntu, futhi ke ingakhethi bani, ingakhethi sihlalo. Abantu bayabulaleka phandle apha. Ngoko ke Sodolophi, ngazi ke nam ndiyathandaza ukuba nifumane le nkxaso-mali ukwenzela uba kuzoguquka imeko yezoqoqosho lwethu. Enkosi.
Thank you, Mr. Paulus. Last to respond to the Mayor's address is the DA. Councillor Barnard, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for this opportunity. Speaker, I will not be using this opportunity to congratulate our Olympic stars again, as it has repeatedly, but I will be using this opportunity to congratulate our municipal stars. By that, I mean, firstly, I'd like to congratulate the two mayors on excellent speeches. It was great to have our junior mayor, Ludolf Pedro, with us, and we appreciate him making himself available with a great message. The second person I'd like to congratulate is our acting MM, Dr. Michelle Gratz, with her team. I think that we can really see that the administration is buckling down and getting things done to take George forward. We heard about 200% happening over the last 6 months. The first one was the 100% MIG grants that have been spent. That's incredible. Well done to all concerned. We also heard that 100% of the building plans that were submitted were approved within the prescribed time frame. This too is incredible, as we know that building plan approval has been a thorn in the flesh of the municipality for quite a few years. Several of my colleagues referred to the fact that we need to address unemployment and we need job creation. And if we do succeed with the BFI grant, which we've heard about, then that will be one of the steps we will be taking to address the unemployment in our area. There is an item that serves today before council concerning bridging finance to get our projects on the go, and this too will go quite a way to addressing some of the problems that we are experiencing regarding infrastructure. And as we know, if we can get our infrastructure sorted out and improved, we will see more development taking place. We will see more building taking place in the building industry, which leads to job creation, which in fact puts food on the table of our residents. One of my colleagues remarked that the soup kitchens were not functioning properly. I would like to appeal to him to please put something in writing or contact the director concerned, because the information that I have is that all soup kitchens received all their soup products, and that they do so at the beginning of a month. So if there's a problem with a soup kitchen in any area, please let's sort it out and report it so that we can get our soup kitchens running 100% as well. All that we heard today regarding the BFI grant application bears testimony to how hard our new management team is working. The fact that they're prepared to sit until 3 o'clock in the morning shows that they really have the interests of George and its residents at heart, and that they are doing what they are doing to ensure that George very soon becomes the best secondary city in South Africa. I was also encouraged to hear that my in Gauteng and KZN. And I would also like to say that if we can stand together as a council, irrespective of what party we belong to do something like signing this pledge and looking after our interests and the interests of the community, we can do so when it comes to other matters of interest for our city. So thank you once more to all the political parties that took our hands when it came to that. As I said previously, today's mayoral report or mayoral address bears testimony to what can be done when we have a strong leadership team with a strong leader in charge in the form of our acting MM, with her newly appointed directors, as well as several newly appointed senior staff members. Sorry, my time up?
Indeed.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you, Speaker. Have a good day further.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, Mayor, for the mayoral address and the replies. We move to item 4 on the agenda, official notices. There are none that I'm aware of. Item 5, disclosure of interest by councillors. Item 5 of the Code of Conduct for councillors, and disclosure of benefits by municipal staff members. Item 5 of the Code of Conduct for municipal staff members. I have not received any. Item 6, list of deferred items. There are none that I'm aware of. Item 7, minutes of the previous meetings. Item 7.1, minutes of an ordinary e-council meeting held on 29 June 2021. Can we get a proposer and a seconder there, please?
Barnard proposes.
Proposed by Councillor Barnard. Take your pick. It's either Councillor von Brandes or Councillor Snyman. Thank you, councillors. We move to item 8, minutes of the executive mayor in committee meetings. There are no minutes. 9, resolutions or decisions taken by the executive mayor under delegated authority. There are none. Item 10, motions or proposals deferred from previous meetings. There are none. Item 11, motions. Item 11.1, new motions. I'm not aware of any. Item 11.2, motions of exigency. There are none. We move to item 12, matters, discretion of the speaker. Councillors, I just wish to remind you that you have all received by mail, I think yesterday, maybe the day before, the COCTA survey requesting support on the local government ethical leadership initiative. And I wish to encourage you to all complete it. I have certainly completed mine immediately. It is anonymous. And I think it's a very useful document to work on. It's a good start. So I would really like to encourage you to complete that. If you haven't received it, please contact Malani in order for you to be able to respond to it by mail. If I'm not mistaken, I'm speaking off the top of my head. I think there is a deadline of the 6th or the 5th of August. But please participate in that. We move to item 13, urgent matters by the municipal manager.
Speaker, no, there are none. Thank you.
Thank you. We then move to item 14, which is reports to council. Item 14.1 is the erection of a new fire station by the Garden Route District Municipality. First to speak there from the DA is Councillor Vugland. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Vugland.
Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Council members, this item aims to seek approval from council to rescind the decision that was taken on the 27th of September 2017 pertaining to Urban 22494 and 22495, and that permission be granted to the district municipality for the building of a fire station on these two mentioned urbans. I therefore propose that the recommendation on the agenda as contained on page 42 be accepted as it is. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Vugland. Next to speak is Alderman Tayizi. You have 2 minutes, Alderman.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, as ANC, we know that the development of the land as a fire station will improve service delivery, especially to the nearest areas like Pakasdorp. Therefore, we support the recommendation. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Alderman Tayizi. The last to speak on this item is Councillor Stander. You have 1 minute, Councillor.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I second the motion of my colleague, Councillor Vugland.
Thank you, Councillor Stander. If we go on like this, we're gonna be finished.
I propose the recommendation as it is. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Mbete. Next to speak on this item is Councillor van Niekerk. You have 1 minute, Councillor van Niekerk.
Speaker, just an inquiry because and that is on page 49. They about on the top, please note, National Energy Regulator of South Africa, NERSA approval is also required for the lowering of the tariff. Approval have been requested on 21 July 2021 and approval is expected soon. Now, and we're jumping the gun here. I mean, I've got nothing against the approval thereof. It's been quite clear the reasons behind or the rationale behind. But what if NERSA said no? What then? Then we've taken a decision again, which we actually cannot take if this is correct, that NERSA must first approve it. Thank you, Speaker. I'd just like to get an answer on that, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor van Niekerk. Through you to Mr. Mandla, I presume.
Speaker, I can perhaps come in here. Mr. Mandla or Mr. Wallace can add. I don't think NERSA are going to have a problem with us lowering the tariff. Obviously, the accounts do need to go out, and hence that is why we're bringing the item now, so that we can levy the account. But should NERSA come back and say no, then there would have to be adjustments on the accounts. But I would think that we are quite safe. I think NERSA is unlikely to turn down an application for a lower tariff. But perhaps Mr. Mandla or Mr. Wallace can add to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mandla, do you wish to add?
No, Speaker, I think the has covered it fully. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mandla. Mr. Wallace, do you wish to add anything?
Thank you, Speaker. No, Speaker, I agree with what the has said. Traditionally, NERSA requires us to lower tariffs, so I'm quite sure that they will agree with us lowering this tariff.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Councillor van Niekerk.
Speaker, well, yes, unfortunately, there is no permission. That makes this decision not, can't say it makes it illegal, but can't we then say subject to that the reduction subject to the approval of NERSA being approved, or something like that, surely. But if it's a legal requirement that NERSA's approval is necessary, although we think and we can think as much as we wish, there is no approval on the table. I'm sorry, but I must highlight this. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Mbete. Do you wish to consider redrafting the recommendation that it is subject to NERSA approval?
Speaker?
Councillor Mbete, yes?
I didn't hear your question, Speaker.
My question was, do you wish to consider amending the recommendation to read that Council approves the reduction in the tariff subject to NERSA approval?
Yes, I can do that, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Last to speak on this is Councillor Snyman. Councillor Snyman.
Thank you, Speaker. And based on the fact that, if my memory serves me correctly, this is only 17 households in George, I would like to second the recommendation made by my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. I would then like to ask Councillor Mbete to just forward the amended recommendation to committee services. Thank you.
I will do that.
Thank you, Councillor Mbete. We move to item 14.3, SALGA Women's Commission report. First to speak there is Councillor Strubel. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Strubel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is always a privilege and a pleasure to address Council on the SALGA Women's Commission. Speaker, my report covers 2 quarterly meetings held on the 18th of May and the 18th of June, respectively. The one being the Provincial Women's Commission and the other one, the Provincial Working Group. Latter meeting flows from a decision made by the PEC that the SALGA Women's Commission representatives be supporting the provincial working groups, and we play an instrumental role in those meetings. Now, during the Provincial Women's Commission meeting, municipal reports of the Western Cape were submitted, which covered projects relating to women, youth, and the disabled. Mr. Speaker, I propose that this report then be noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Strubel. Next to speak is Councillor Julia Nkamazana. You have 1 minute, Councillor Julia.
Thank you, Speaker, for the opportunity. It has been 5 years now that the same song has been sung. gave reports, it's written in the report that they gave report of what's taking place in their areas. But George does not appear on that list. But what has she done? Ne? The answer is nothing. I'm surprised that the chief whip of council, Councillor Martin, did not pick up the poor performance of the chairperson of Salga committee. So now it's maybe the age that is speaking there. There is young blood in that committee who can lead that Salga representatives from George. You can, I propose that you take Unosana, Pumela Nosana to lead, because he'll do a better job than what is happening now.
Councillor Julia, your time is...
1 minute, 1 second. Please stop making fool of the George municipality and do what you were supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Julia. Last to speak this afternoon is Councillor Brown. You have 1 minute, Councillor Brown.
Councillor, I just want to support, Speaker, I want to support the report as submitted by my colleague. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. We move to item 14.4, the tabling of the quarterly budget monitoring report for April to June 2021. Mayor, if you please will, thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm here with tabling the fourth quarter monitoring report for the 2021 financial year, and included in that report is also the top layer SDBIB report. Now, this report is obviously covers these 12 months, and as we all know, there is a fair amount of finalisation work that needs to be done in the course of July and into August, into completing our financial statements for the year for submission to the Auditor General. I think just my comments and observations at this stage, and the further speakers will elaborate further on the report. I think we noticed that in both the operating income and operating expenditure for the year, the differentials between what is recorded here as the difference between planned and actual is on the income side, it's 409 million, that's down, and operating expenditure 410. So we've got a set of accounts that is pretty much fairly in balance in that, and that I'm hopeful that maintains the overall surplus position that should result out of this. No doubt there are many entries that need to be put through, including the final month adjustments that we will see. We notice that the capital expenditure is about 95 million under what is planned, and included in that 95, what needs to immediately out of the 95, and no doubt there are adjustments in terms of payments that would need to flow through in the last month's adjustments as the capital that was spent towards the end of the year. Our cash is very stable at 669 million. Our debtors we see is at 349 million, which is 25% up on last year, and no doubt Councillor Wessels will comment further here. And our debtors extending our aged analysis that are over 90 days is 211 million, which is 29% up. I think these are obviously concerning to all of us, and finance will continue with those collection processes there to improve that situation. A data collection rate of 93.8% for the year after our COVID period, and we were expecting that to be slightly below the 95%. Over time, we have a budget of 43.4 million for the year. We spent 37.2 to date, with 1 month's payments to come. So that is a fairly brilliant performance. We haven't seen that performance for many years that we've been able to keep within our overtime budget, and I'm quite confident that will happen. So herewith I table this fourth quarter report. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Mayor. First to speak on this item is Councillor Wessels. Councillor Wessels, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker, and thanks to the Mayor for the thorough tabling of the report. The report is a summary of the main budget issues from the in-year monitoring process and compares the progress of the budget to projections in the SDBIP. Variance is on page 6 under electricity is due to a portion of June's billing being done in July, which will increase the actual revenue as stated as on page 6 of that report. Fines, penalties and forfeit shows a significant shortfall, but provision was made for that shortfall. So we have made provision for that. The COVID impact regarding revenue is something, unfortunately, that we will keep on seeing probably going forward, and none more shows this more than rentals, the rentals of our halls and facilities, as well as the interest rate drops that was announced during the COVID peak. Hence the reason for the shortfalls in the revenue on that side. When we look at the capital expenditure, we note that some projects was completed without using the full budget allocation. Specific mention there to the Conville Hall. The Mayor has mentioned the 30 million and the 10 million respectively within civil, where we've received a late grant, and thus that funds is still to be paid over. Further impact of COVID can be seen as certain suppliers obviously weren't able to provide goods and services and parts for certain upgrades, etc. Page 122 of the agenda sees an overall increase in the short and long-term debtors. Of growing concern is that 210 million, which is outstanding for longer than 20 days. And the indigent household, the increase there remains of great concern, and we would like to just make special mention of that and to make sure that we are working on that. There's a cost containment report that shows significant savings, and I would like to commend the administration for that, considering that 71% of the KPI top layer was met, either met, well met, or extremely well met, showing an increase in good service delivery. The state of our cash and investment was also mentioned by the Mayor, seems healthy and in line with a view of our long-term financial planners, showing that we are acting responsibly with our ratepayers, with the ratepayers' funds. Thank you very much, and with that I would like to recommend that Council takes note of the report as on page 99. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wessels. Next to speak is Alderman van der Hoeven. Alderman van der Hoeven, you have 3 minutes. Alderman van der Hoeven.
Sorry, Speaker, I struggled to unmute. I say greetings to everybody, Speaker, and also those logged in via YouTube. Hopefully the Office of the Auditor General is also represented on YouTube. If not, I'm sure it is recorded and we will supply it to them. As already been indicated, this item reflects the municipality's financial performance of the last quarter of 2020-2021 financial year. What is actually reflected here is an underperformance, indeed way under. Not just underperformance, it's a way underperformance. Everything is summarized in the graph on page 142, where it is indicated that only 13.4% of the top layer KPIs were extremely well met, and almost 30% not met. Councillor Wessels has made reference to the 71% that has been met. but only 30% of only 13.4% is well met. The rest is but just met, and 30% not met. Every year, Speaker, we struggle like mad to find funding for both capital and operational expenditure. This year, Speaker, we kicked off with an allocation of 388 million for much needed capital projects. We eventually ended up with 282 million after downward judgments, of which we only spent 187. So it's not even half of what we originally, the need was originally. Surely a 34% of underperformance after a huge scale down from the original budget reflects a huge concern. The underspending of the operating budget is a similar concern, with 409 million, Speaker, which we did not utilize or spend for services out there. It is huge, and surely someone must account. If we don't restructure our electricity tariffs, Speaker, we're going to fall into another pit. We are warning this, and we are begging to you and to Council, please let us restructure our electricity tariffs, because every year we're going to fall short and much more fall short until we come to a stage where only the most disadvantaged are using electricity from this municipality. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Alderman van der Hoeven. Next to speak on this item is Councillor Du Toit. You have 1 minute, Councillor Du Toit.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the Mayor and Councillor Wessels gave a comprehensive and detailed outline of this report. And on that detailed, comprehensive and detailed outline report, the ACTP take note of the quarterly budget monitoring report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Du Toit. Next to speak is Councillor van Niekerk. You have 1 minute, Councillor van Niekerk.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, yes, same with Freedom Front Plus. This document was quite thoroughly prepared, and our compliments to everybody who contribute to this document. Speaker, we have anticipated that COVID will play a significant role, and it's clear on the figures for each and every one to see, taking in consideration what COVID can do to our economy, to our budget.
You are breaking up, Councillor van Niekerk.
Sorry, Speaker. Okay, I'll move closer to the mic. Speaker, we take note of the quarterly budget monitoring report, and from the Freedom Front side, we can say it's a job well done under the circumstances regarding the COVID pandemic. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. You finished right on time. Thank you for that. Albeit only 1 minute. Last to speak on this item is Councillor Ingo. You have 1 minute, Councillor Ingo.
Dank u, Speaker. Ek sekondeer die voorstel van Raadslid Wessels.
Thank you, Councillor Ingo. We move to item 14.5. This item was withdrawn. We move to item 14.6. Bridge finance towards capital projects funded from external loans. First to speak there is the Mayor. Mayor, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Yeah, I think this item deals with a process where we seek approval to make use of internal funding in the meantime as we start our capital expenditure process, and then that we take up our loans we've budgeted for 198 million rands worth of external funding. That process to secure that loan is already underway, and what the traditional way of doing it is that we make use of our internal cash that we have available to start the capital expenditure process, and thereby then save on not having to pay interest on that loan.
Times, if you can perhaps just rewind, to be honest with you, I can't remember where you broke up.
Oh, okay. I thought I was going quite full steam. I don't have any nice flashing lights on the side, but effectively what I was saying is that this is a process whereby we start using our cash, our internal cash, to start our capital projects. And in the meantime, we've already commenced with the processes to secure our external loan. The information statement has already been advertised for public comment, and it's now just a matter of going through the finalization of who the funding provider would be. But we obviously save having to pay interest on a loan by only taking up the loan later during the year, and we use our internal cash resources as we start the capital expenditure process as soon as possible after the beginning of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Gratz, your hand is up.
Speaker, yes, I just want to mention, I think perhaps you are having connectivity problems because you have now mentioned it to more than one speaker that you couldn't hear them, but in fact the speaker was audible to the rest of us. So perhaps you have a connectivity problem there. Thank you.
It's Dr. Gratz, thanks for that. I can assure you I don't have a connectivity problem. It's probably my device, but thanks for that. And yes, I do see that I have a bad network connection from time to time. I'm sorry, who was that?
It's Langa, Speaker.
Yes, Councillor Langa.
I just need to mention, Mr. Speaker, you're not the only one that actually experiences those glitches, because it happens here on my side as well. It's either the speaker actually, completely mutes, or the network actually goes and then comes back again. So I just wanted to actually confirm that you're not the only one experiencing that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
For once, you and I are on the same page.
Speaker,
thanks.
Please, man.
Next to speak on this item is Alderman Williams. Alderman Williams, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've perused the item, went through it, and I see nothing wrong with it. The only question I have for Dr. Gratz or the mayor, since we're going to use our internal funds, whereby we'll carry on with the capital projects while the application went out for external funding. As soon as we receive the external funding, will we replace our internal funds? That's my question.
Dr. Gratz.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, we are probably going to get a reply to that application in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Should it be successful, then we will have to revise the source of funding and also some of the projects. Some of them are on the budget at this stage, but they are under CRR or under loans. Some of them are not yet on the budget. So if that BFI application is successful, we will have to bring a revised adjustment budget, Alderman Williams. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Williams.
Yes, thank you. You've answered my question, and I'm satisfied with the item because it's a norm usually over these years which have been done. So it's not something new. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Williams. Next to speak on this item is Councillor Buys. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Buys.
Speaker, ek gaan ook nie lang wees nie. Ek is ook ten gunste met die vorige speaker wat gepraat het en dit was ons concern ook. Dankie, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Buys. I'm not sure that translation is required on that. The next to speak on this item is Councillor De Tooy. You have 1 minute, Councillor De Tooy.
Thank you, Speaker. I won't be long. The ACDP approve of this because there's much needed upgrades that must be done, like the stormwater and etc. So we are 100% for this. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor De Tooy. Last to speak on this item is Councillor Wessels. You have 1 minute, Councillor Wessels.
I'll be very quick. Thank you, Speaker. I'll second the recommendation from Councillor van Wyk. Thanks.
Thank you. We move to item 14.7, the George Municipal Spatial Development Framework 2019, Review 2021-22, and Amendment 2022-2023. First to speak there is Councillor Stander. You have 3 minutes, Councillor Stander.
Thank you, Speaker. I thank you for the opportunity to speak on this item. George Municipality will soon prepare a 5-year IDP which will determine the strategic direction and development priorities for the municipal area for the following 5 years. Aligned to the new term of office of the new municipal council, legislation requires that the municipality adopt the MSDF as a core component of the IDP. The purpose of this item today, Speaker, is for Council to approve the processes as detailed in paragraph 3, which regards to the review of the 2019 George Spatial Development Framework. Speaker, I hereby propose the recommendation as set out on pages 214 and 215 of today's agenda. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stander. Next to speak on this item is the ANC. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Jantjies Guzman.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first I see that the item, the IDP and the spatial development must speak to one another, which is a good thing, which is not happening currently. The MSDF also impacts economic development and access to economy opportunities. What is painfully evident is that the spatial segregation of apartheid is still a major contributor to the continuation of impoverishment of our people. Impoverishment, Speaker, it's a big word. Our people are still staying way across the railway lines and the freeways. Only privileged people can afford to have access to land in the CBD. Schools, universities, shops, and workplaces are still far from where our people reside, whereas the few elite can just walk to them. Speaker, there is nothing that speaks to the integration of our community in this spatial development plan. It would have been good or very nice to hear that the George municipality was serious in integration and economic development. We would be talking about planning economic opportunities establishment in Packersdorp, Thembalethu, Blanco, Hans Muskral, etc., where the majority of the poor people resides. Speaker, I think it is high time for this municipality to be serious in integrating the communities, make sure that the economy does not flow one side of this municipality. Look, there's even when there's housing opportunities. And typical example, in Rosedale, there's that smarty town. The smarty town does not even have a space for school, space for shops, space for anything. It's only houses. We only think of houses when we build. We don't integrate the space to make sure that there are facilities that are needed and also will be able to service the residents staying in those areas. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Jantjies Guzman. Next to speak on this item is Councillor De Tooy. You have 1 minute, Councillor De Tooy.
Speaker, ek gaan sommer vinnig wees. Die ACDP ondersteun die aanbeveling soos op bladsy 214 en 215. Dankie.
Thank you, Councillor De Tooy. Last to speak on this item, and probably for the last time as a councillor on this, is Councillor Farrell. You have 1 minute, Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Speaker. I second the recommendation as proposed, put forward by Councillor Stander. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. We move to item 14.8, draft notice, upper limits, salaries, allowances and benefits of councillors. First to speak there is the Mayor. Mayor, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. You know, in a number of decades ago, when I was very much younger, we used to talk about a Dear Johnny letter that young men would receive from the sort of girlfriends that they had in those days. And in those, we never had internet then. And the only way of real correspondence was by way of letter that comes in the mail. And that would normally be for a girlfriend saying that she was no longer interested in her boyfriend. And this is a similar type of letter that has taken a very, very long time to get to us. That now comes to tell us that there's no increase for us for the financial year that has passed us from July to June. And, so I think this has just been brought to council now that we take notice that the fact that councillors are not getting a cost of living adjustment in this past year. And I think it's something that we anticipated and fully understand in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic that has taken place and the difficult economic times that have been experienced. And it is, the councillors have taken this. I suppose we could also note, tongue in cheek, that the members of the administration within local government, still received increases last year, and that those negotiations are still on the table. Thank you, Speaker. So I'm obviously recommending proposing this.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for not breaking up. Next to speak on this item is Councillor Lof. You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, we have familiarized ourselves with the contents of the letter of the Minister. Also that the recommendations, as they know that they have consultation also with the different MECs of the local government in the different provinces. However, as the Mayor had made mention also that in June, the President have announced that the people, like the Executive of Parliament, will not get increment, but that the normal MPs and MPRs will get a 2.8% increment. And I just want to quote the President why he said they need an increment. And I want to use his direct words to say, it may seem to many people that they are living it up and they have a very good life. Believe you me, it is not. That was the words of the President. And therefore, I need to say this discussion about the councillors is the direct access of the community to government. And all of us who's been in this game for many years, who's living amongst the communities, specifically now with the pandemic, we feel it more because people more relied on us. The access point specifically for us coming from the disadvantaged communities. These people rely on us for in many instances, is most of our people, councillors here can say, they rely on us for assistance when it comes to any financial thing. So therefore, I think we just need to meet that, and okay, we must accept it and note it, but this is something that really need to look into. We must refer to SALGA, write to SALGA, that they need to fight for the rights of councillors when it comes to increment of salaries and allowances. Thank you, Speaker. You know that's what all we experience.
Thank you, Councillor Lof. Next to speak on this is the PBI, Councillor Buys. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, ons as die PBI is ten gunste van geen verwagting vir raadslede. En ons verwelkom dit. Daar is baie hier buite wat nie het nie, Speaker. Baie dankie.
Thank you, Mr. Buys, or Councillor Buys. Ms. Apollos, can you briefly translate, please? Thank you.
Uthi ke thina siyi-PBI siyayamkela le recommendation lokuba oceba banganyuselwa. Baninzi abantu phandle apha abasokolayo nabangathathi ntweni. Ngoko ke siyayamkela.
Thank you, Ms. Apollos. Next to speak on this item is Councillor van Niekerk. You have 1 minute.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, is sedert 2016, ek dink die eerste keer wat ek sien dat daar nie verhoging is vir raadslede nie. Dit is ook die enigste mosie wat ek beleef het oor die afgelope paar jare wat al die partye, politieke partye, het sy opposisie, het sy heersende party oor eenvormig saamgestem het wanneer dit afgekondig is nog verhogings. Maar Speaker, die Vryheidsfront ondersteun volmondig hierdie besluit wat geneem is in die huidige lig van die huidige COVID-pandemie. En ek stem saam met wat Raadslid Loft gesê het in opsigte van raadslede en die ure wat hulle insit en die verwagtinge van hulle van die gemeenskap en so aan. En dit is so, en ek ondersteun ook ons president wat gesê het dat die persepsie is miskien daar buite dat die raadslede se raak vet in die raad en hulle doen niks nie, maar ons betrokke is weet nogal, dit is nie so nie, ons weet van die lang ure wat ingesit word. So, maar die Vryheidsfront ondersteun. Dankie, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor van Niekerk. Mr. Paulus, translation, please.
Uthi ke thina ke siyasamkela ke isigqibo esithathiweyo sokubana kungabikho uchatha. Uthi ke ndiyaqala ke uyiva oko ndikhona ba kungabikho kunyuselwa mali koceba, kodwa ke phantsi kwale meko sihleli kuyo yale pandemic, ngoko ke isigqibo ndiyasamkela. Uthi ndiyavumelana ke noceba Lof ukubana kulindeleke olukhulu phandle apha kuluntu ngoceba neenkonzo abathi bazinikezele okanye bazizise ebantwini, ngoko ke nabo funeka bacingelwe, kodwa ke akho nto esinoba sayithetha ngoku isigqibo sesithathiwe, ndiyavumelana naso.
Thank you, Mr. Paulus. Last to speak on this is the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Clark. You have 1 minute.
Thank you, Speaker. I second the proposal by the Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillors, we have a late item and I have decided to allow this late item. It will be item 14.9. And what we will do is let me first read it. It's a request permission from Council to grant delegated authority to the acting municipal manager for the extension of the lease agreement with SWD Rugby Football Union on a month-to-month basis until the 31st of December 2021. I will ask Mr. Paulse to just give us the background here, and if the whips after Mr. Paulse's introduction feel that they need time to caucus on this, we will caucus, and if you, after the introduction by Mr. Paulse, feel that you don't need to caucus and you don't want to discuss it, then there will be no discussion. But over to you, Mr. Paulse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity just to explain to Council the purpose of this item. I don't want this item to be misinterpreted. This is simply requesting Council to grant delegated authority to the acting municipal manager to deal with a situation where a lease that was on with Southwestern District Rugby Union, which lease expired in June 2020 for various reasons that I'm not going to talk to now about, meetings, getting mandates, etc. Then we ran into February. We were ready to bring the matter to the Council. I was just appointed. The MM just came on board on the 1st of January. Then we were in COVID and a lot of things happened that we couldn't in time get things ready for the end of June. We are now having a situation where SWD Rugby Union is almost, if I can put it, although no rugby is taking place, physically still in the position as if a lease exists, and we want to remedy the situation, this vacuum or lacuna that is there. We cannot allow a situation where there's a total vacuum, and we need to regularize it, and we are simply asking the Council to grant the MM the delegated authority to extend the lease more or less on the same terms and conditions until December 2021 this year, so that we can in the meantime go through the public participation process, get the inputs and bring the item back for proper consideration and compliance in terms of the legislation. The legislation is spelled out why we must do it in a certain way. The asset is more than 10 million, the asset transfer regulations is applicable, etc., etc. And there's no other matter linked to this at this stage in terms of the conditions, etc. We've got, and we are busy and almost done with all the little issues that we need to clear, inclusive of public participation, and then bring the full complete item back to Council after the public participation process has been completed. nutshell, just to grant authority, delegated authority to the MM to remedy the situation for a period of 6 months by way of delegated authority. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Paulse. I have a message in the chat box from the Chief Whip of the ANC. No need for caucus. We are not going to talk since it's still going for public participation and come back to council. Thank you, Councillor Jantjies Gushman. Can an indication please be received from the other whips what their feeling is? Do they wish to discuss this and caucus this? I will go down the list then. We have had a response from the ANC, the PBI, Councillor Buys.
Yes, in order, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor De Tooy.
Geen probleem, Speaker.
Councillor van die Kerk.
Nee, glad nie nodig nie, Speaker.
Thank you. Then, Chief Whip, you must just help me. Thank you for that introduction. Mr. Paulse, there's no debate on this item, and therefore it goes through. Am I technically correct? I see that the Chief Whip's hand is up.
100% Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We move to item 15 on the agenda. Questions to Council, 15.1. Replies to questions. There were no questions. 15.2, new questions. I'm not aware of any new questions.
Speaker.
We then move. I beg you, sorry.
It's Councillor Langa, Speaker. I just want to ask if you allow me.
What do you want to ask, Councillor Langa?
Speaker, I just want to ask through you to the MM. I understand that the council actually took a decision, some time back that people's electricity should not be, discontinued or cut. But we are seeing that happening. It's never been back to this council yet, Speaker.
Councillor Langa.
Point of order, Speaker.
I'm not going to allow that question. That's an admin matter. You can take it up with the MM offline.
I expect you, Speaker, to say that, but I don't know what Councillor Barnard is actually going to call a point of order for. That's why I asked you. So you, the Speaker of this council, keep quiet when I'm cool.
Please, thank you. Things have been going fairly well up until now. Let's try and keep it that way. Councillor Langa, I think you know the drill. This question should have been in writing and in any event, but please take it offline, take it up with the MM and Mr. Wallace. We move to the confidential part of the agenda, and therefore our YouTube viewers will have to say goodbye to you, take leave of you. Thank you for your presence. And I'm now awaiting on a signal or indication from Ms. Edwards. Close Edwards, that Edwards close, I'm sorry.